So, welcome everyone to Two Qs with Lisa Ward. I am your host, and today our guest is Christine. So, Christine, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
All right. Hi, Lisa. It's so nice to be on your platform and have a conversation with you. My name is Christine Imoukhuede. I am the founder of Ahavaplan. Ahavaplan is a wedding planning platform that allows for collaborations between the wedding planners and the couples. We are also the one of a kind where you can actually pay your planners through the app, as well as communicate, plan together, assign each other tasks, all those cool stuff. And so we are very excited to have launched July 23rd of no, July 2023. And so we've been a year and a half in the business and doing very well. So yeah, go ahead and download. We are available in the United States and Canada. So download on our website or just search on your Apple store or the Google Play Store for I Have a Plan, Ahavaplan, and be able to use the app and try it out.
That's awesome. Already on the app.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I ask everyone the same two questions. So, your first one is, what do you want that you don't already have?
So when, in the prep for this, I thought very long and hard about that. Because I was like, what do I want that I don't have? I'm one of those people that has the mindset where it's like everything we want is at arm's length, like it's available to us, right? But then I was like, wait, hold on. There has to be something that I don't already have. And it's really just expanding the business globally. Since we launched, we've again a year and a half, very limited. But when I first started this business, it started off as a tool to help my friends. I'm a serial bridesmaid. I'm like 10 bridesmaid, like I've been a bridesmaid for over 10 times already.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes, I'm also that very organized friend. I'm that friend where I have a spreadsheet for everything. I have a notepad for everything. I'm very, very just planning oriented. And as well as I plan micro events as well. And so I remember 2021 when I first got the idea, my friends were having brunch, talking about their weddings. Three of them were getting married in the same time period. And we are of all of a Nigerian origin. And so usually by tradition, we get married back home, even though we all live in Dallas. And so it
Okay.
was a struggle for them, right? Having to find their vendors. They all live in Dallas, but they have to find vendors back home. They have to find their venue, their traditional attires. And when they did have a planner, they had to rely on WhatsApp or Instagram DMs for
Oh,
communication.
yeah.
It is
Communicate.
very hard, right? There wasn't any tool to just help them, send messages or just stay in one space and just plan together. And I'm like, what do you mean there are no tools, right? I'm not sure you noticed or not, but we're like the third on the ranking of the largest, most expensive weddings. Nigerian weddings are just after this, Google Nigerian weddings. It
Yeah.
is like it's a 2 day event where
Okay. I was going to ask how many days
two
is it?
days,
Yeah.
right? So it's on the list, it's India and then the United States and then Nigeria. We are crazy with our weddings, spending a lot of money that we may or may not have. And so it's like, how do we not have anything to help us? This is crazy. We take weddings so seriously. And so that's where I Have a Plan was born from. Just a tool to help my friends out. And I realized it was bigger than me. It was something that people actually needed, right? There are no tools that help you find the planner and actually stay on the app, assign each other tasks, go through your budget, go through your chats, be able to actually plan from start to finish on the app and pay them. Again, you need to have that security of, okay, am I hiring the right person? Is this person legitimate? At the
Hmm.
same time, one of my friends had been planning a wedding in Portugal and they planned, they found a planner, they were planning, and literally 2 months to the wedding, the planner goes AWOL. Can't contact them. No, can't contact them, can't reach them. Already paid them a lot of money. And so it's like, wait, how can we avoid things like this, right? Where it's not just here, it's like you're going across where you can't physically meet that person, but you want to
Mhm.
make sure that it's legitimate, right? You're
Right.
a legitimate planner, you have protection towards what you pay for, but also on the vendor side, right? Vendors also have the same issue where they have to keep hounding their clients for that payment. And
Mhm.
so, how can I bridge that gap between all of these things? And that's where we came from. So, think of like Upwork, but for weddings. And that's who we are.
Yeah.
So, in the question, again, where do I see it going and how? what do I have that I don't already, what do I want that I don't already have? It's that global expansion. We've started now, business has been completely bootstrapped with a few friends and family investments. And so it's like, okay, we want to make sure we're going into those spaces. In the effort to make it, global, we started here first. But like I mentioned, Nigeria was my first market where I thought of like, how can we solve this problem? Europe was also another market. So how do I make sure I'm globally expanding to these locations to be able to help out couples and vendors in those spaces? So yeah, that is one of the things I want that I don't have is that global expansion and the funding to get there. On the flip side, though, on the personal side, I love to travel. I love, love, love to travel. I've been to 32 countries so far. My goal is to visit at least 100 in the next 10 years. And it's like, I need that work-life balance. I need to be able to
Yeah.
travel, see the world, get refreshed, get more ideas, see how they do their weddings, just experience different cultures. But again, I have a plan, right? To build
Hmm.
this app and grow it. And so, yeah, I want to be able to have that flexibility, that work-life balance, and enjoy both things. So, yeah.
Hmm. No, it's great that you have a business that will allow you to travel, but then there's also a purpose behind
The
said
travel.
travel. So
Exactly.
part of it could be written off, part of it can be for pleasure. So that
Exactly.
might be a tricky balance
Like,
in itself.
yeah.
Like, okay, when am I like taking the hat off? I'm
Hmm.
not working. I'm actually just enjoying being,
Yes.
in a new scenery. Um, but that's amazing. And I work with young households and
Mhm.
I see what the budgets are for weddings. So I
They're crazy.
now I'm very curious to now go Google
Mhm.
Nigerian wedding. I'm familiar with the Indian weddings and all of those,
Mhm.
festivities that go along with that.
Have you ever seen any of the weddings where they have these traditional attires and they're like spraying money? Like they're literally just spraying money on the bride and the groom. I don't know if you ever seen.
That's isn't that a dance at some point in the Nigerian wedding? Or are you
Yes,
yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
that's really a Nigerian wedding, right? It's the culture just so guests are spraying money. The bride and groom are spending a lot of money to have this event. And so yeah, it's very fascinating. And it's also like a rite of passage for us. It's like, okay, we know, with our usually it's we follow the dad's, like my dad's tradition. And so it'll be okay, my dad's from this state in Nigeria. So we'll have this type of wedding. And if your dad's from somewhere else, you have a different outfit. And so yeah,
Okay.
so it's crazy that even though I was born and raised here, that's still ingrained in my head. Like I know for a fact I'm going to have a Nigerian wedding to honor my parents and also blend whatever culture it is that my partner is from together. So yeah, very exciting stuff.
Oh, that sounds fantastic though. Like, I mean,
Very
any
exciting.
wedding is a celebration, no how big or small,
Mhm,
love
mhm.
it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
Well, how cool that you literally identified a problem
Mhm.
and figured out a solution. I think that's how most successful businesses
Come
are
from.
started. So
Mhm.
many people are like, well, what am I going to do? I know I want to own a business. Well, go find a problem. Or what is a problem you have that you potentially
Mhm.
have a solution for? Um, so ask your second question now. You've kind of alluded to it. So what's holding you back from doing the global expansion? You mentioned finances.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm curious, go ahead and answer the second question, but how was expanding to Canada? Were there any issues going that
Well,
direction?
so good question. What we notice is the United States and Canada have very similar behaviors towards like new products and adapting to tools. And so it's very easy to kind of lump them together and just say, okay, North America, this is what we're gonna do, right? So being able to go to like expo. So we haven't attended an expo in Canada yet. However, we've done multiple expos in the United States and as well
Mhm.
as Dubai, actually. We also went there just to see how it performed there
Oh,
because they don't have anything like that as well. And so we were able to quickly discern like, okay, these two countries have very similar behavioral patterns towards tools and products and as well as their weddings, right? The simple American traditional wedding. Very clear,
mhm.
very simple checklist, good to go. However, when it comes to like different spaces that like India or Nigeria or Ghana, or any country, even the UAE, their wedding, like the way weddings are more sacred, right? Like here, but like there's more of that traditional feel to it, right? They want it to be done this exact way, this way to honor this person and honor that person. And so you have to now start to think about the cultural alignment with just the ceremony before you
Mm-hmm.
even get into how they deal with tools and products, right? And so you start to get into a space where, okay, for instance, like I'll give an example of Nigeria. It's about who you know, right? They deal heavily with referrals. So all of my friends that got married, we noticed that they all use very similar vendors. Some of them use the same decorator. Some of them use the same planner. Some of them use the same person to sew their outfits. And it's because they want tried, tested, and true. They don't,
Right.
they don't, they don't want to, learn anything new. They're like, this works. My friend
I've
said it
seen your
works.
work. I
I'm
approve
gonna
of your
use it.
work. I know
I'm
you
gonna
can
use it.
follow through.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not about helping any businesses. It's not about growing as a person. Here, we're more, um, we will be more open to trying out something new. But back there, they're not. And so same thing with Dubai, same thing with India. And so we realized that for us in that space, we have to find that champion, right? That
Uh-huh.
great big champion that's going to say, okay, hey, this I have tried. This is great. It works. It's good. And so we start to have to get into that space of, and not just that though, we have the champion, but now we still need the vendors to come on. That
Mm-hmm.
champion has to be so big where brides and couples listen to them as well as the planners. And so it becomes an act of a balancing act of, okay, do we focus more on building a great product and just hope the community adapts to it? Or do we spend the money and funnel into getting that one champion, that spokesperson where everyone's going to listen to them and they're going to be open to using the tool? And so as compared to here, where you just put an app on the app store, you put some ads and everyone's curious. They saw it on Pinterest. Hey, I'm going to download it. Literally, I remember I was talking to someone the other day and they're like, oh, my makeup artist mentioned I have a plan, an app that helps with da 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 da, and I just downloaded it. Or I saw it on Pinterest, I just downloaded it. But when you have those different markets, it's like, you're touching money. No, I'm not just downloading. I'm going to make sure
Mm-hmm.
someone can refer and say this is good. Otherwise, I'm not doing it. And
Yeah.
so it's more of a balancing act of who we know versus here. It's just how we do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's the trust factor
Yep. Yep.
too. I guess we're just more willing to,
Take a chance. And if it doesn't work,
yeah.
get a refund. Really, truly. Just,
Yeah.
I'm gonna file a claim that didn't work for me. I paid money, or it didn't work for me. I didn't like it. I'm just gonna delete it. But if you notice where we watch things on TV and we're like, oh, that looks cool, I'm gonna go. Or you see a new restaurant just pop up on your Instagram, we're like, oh, that seems like a nice restaurant. I'm gonna go. But
Mm-hmm.
when you come into like spaces like I said, and I noticed it more with the African countries as well as the UAE and Indian countries, they rely more on who said does a close trusted friend or partner or vendor, whatever has said this is good. So I'm taking their word for it and I'm going to use it. Less
Mm-hmm.
about what I saw online, and yeah, I think it's great. So yeah.
Hmm.
So
Man, that's
that's
going to
that's
be a
our
balance
mhm,
of doing your research, identifying said person,
mhm.
marketing to that person.
Person. Yep.
So there is some marketing still involved,
Yes.
but then building rapport so
With
that
that.
they could, try out the product,
Mhm.
then get to know their network. God,
And it might
wow.
be multiple influencers, like multiple micro influencers or anything like that, but it has to be, you have to have those champions that say, this is good, try it. I used it, I like it. It's like, oh, okay, then I'm gonna use it, I'm gonna try it.
Hmm.
As opposed to here where they're just okay with just trying it. If it doesn't work, I'm just gonna delete it. So no, truly, no, that it really, it's like I remember sometimes I see an ad for something, maybe a travel a tool to help me with planning my travel. I download it, and if I try to use it for maybe 30 minutes, again, we have short attention spans. 30 minutes, I'm like, it doesn't give me what I want, really. right? We don't care. We just unsubscribe from their emails or delete their emails and just ignore them. But it's like when you
Yeah.
go into those spaces, you don't realize how important for a business owner those 30 minutes. Like I have 30 minutes or less to catch your attention and I have to keep it. But compared to back home or different countries, it's more so the person. So now that 30 minutes is that salesperson. It's less about just them recognizing the tool, seeing if it works for them, and just moving on. This is more so you have 30 minutes to convince that person that you need this. So yeah.
You're gonna scour the internet and go find these people.
Yes, pretty much, pretty much. So we've started the process, and we're hoping like, we'll be able to expand the business and get into those spaces. So that is what's holding us back is again, really making sure we're discerning in our decision making as it relates to that marketing and finding that champion, as well as funding constraints, making sure we have the money to go into those spaces and do it, not just going there, but doing it well. So yeah.
Yeah, having translators so that it's
Mhm.
all in their
Exactly.
native language. Yeah,
Exactly.
just a
Exactly.
whole can of
Very
worms.
different, like exactly. It's a whole thing. But the beautiful part of it is my friend mentioned to me the other day, do you want to be a small fish in a big ocean or a big fish in a small ocean? In those spaces, we will be one of a kind. It doesn't exist. And so we're setting the playing field for what it looks like. And so yeah, a lot of pressure, but a lot of success in that.
Yeah, no, it sounds like fun.
Yes.
Doesn't sound like pressure at all. It sounds
No,
like
just
a
yeah,
great
it's great. We
challenge.
can fail, but like it'll be great.
You've got the states to support you. You'll be fine.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
awesome. So I'm curious, do you have a tech background that you were able to, build
Good.
out an app? Because that's not easy.
No, it's not. So yes, I do have a tech background. I started off as an accountant. Actually, I did that in my bio, but I started my career as an accountant. My first degree is in accounting, realized very quickly that I hated it. It's not for me. But what I also realized while I worked at UPS as an accountant was I would automate my work. I like to call myself one of those lazy creatives. Lazy is used very differently, where if I don't like it, I'm gonna find a way to automate it. If I don't like the fact that I have to wake up every morning and take a shower or wait for the hot water to get, hot because it's so cold outside, I will find a way where before I get out of bed, that shower is on and or the heater or the, water heater is already on. Something, some way, somehow, I'll find a tool for it. And so I used to do that a lot as an accountant, where I ended up finding ways to automate my reconciliations and I didn't have to do them anymore just because I just didn't like that part of the work. And I realized very quickly that I was made for business analytics, and the tool part of the systems. And so I went back to school, got a master's degree in business analytics, um,
Okay.
continued to do that at UPS, helped with automating our accounts. And then I moved to Lockheed Martin, where I did that as well, for the F-35s. I was there for about 3 years, automating and finding ways where we can get our jets up faster and be mission ready. And then I did that for about 3 years as well, moved on to Apple. I did that as well at Apple, building tools that help us with our data centers and making sure that they are ready to go. And so again, I see something, it's a problem. How can I use tools to automate that work? How can I make sure that we're more efficient in their work? And so I do have, again, tools and background in system automation, especially building apps, web pages, web, applications, whatever it is. And so it was a very easy way to translate, what I love doing, which is planning, right? I love to plan. I love to, especially with weddings, helping my friends. And I also love to build tools. I hear a problem, like, duh, we can fix this. And so, yeah. So that's
Yeah.
that's kind of where that came from for me. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. Love that. Love that. Yeah, I could tell you had an analytical background just
Mhm.
by, oh yeah, I'm the friend with the spreadsheet.
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
before this call, I created a notepad, a note sheet on my computer where I'm like, okay, this is her question. What could be my possible answers? And that's how I was like, okay, wait, what? I can't just say money's my problem because like everybody has a money problem, but it's like, really, why do I have a money problem? What's stopping me from doing that? And so I'm that person. I'm okay. I need to make sure that this works, and there is some thought, put into this. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
How did you transition from being a W-2 employee to being self-employed? I mean, obviously
Ooh.
your brain knows how to solve problems.
Mhm.
You had that foresight to go in, see an opportunity, create a solution, or at least test drive some solutions. But this is a big jump
It's a big jump.
from very analytical to very emotional, very personal, but still
Yes.
problem solving. So what did
Yes.
that look like?
Um, it was a very hard but easy decision. Hard because again, we have to analyze I had to analyze my finances, right? I was like, okay,
Mhm.
bought a house. I've only ever been on a W-2 for 10 plus years. And I started my career really, really young. Right. I started even before I turned 20. So I was already a full-time employee at UPS, trying to get my bearing. And in the back of my head, though, I always knew I wanted to be a CEO. Like I always knew that I wanted to run a company. Not because of the greatness that comes with being a CEO, but I like being responsible for the good and bad of the performance of the company. I have a way of being able to motivate people to be able to get work done better. And so I remember when I did my big project at Lockheed Martin, I got to present to the SVP of Lockheed Martin at the time. I also got to present to the Secretary of Defense because it was a really big project. And I remember afterwards, the VP called me in and was like, I want to mentor you. What's your career goal? And I'm like, to be CEO. And he goes, I've never heard that before. That's he's
Thank
like,
you for being so bold.
you don't want my job as a VP, you want my boss's boss. I'm like, yes.
Uh-huh.
He's like, okay, we can do it. And so, but I never thought that I would start mine, right? I just always knew I liked the structure. I liked I liked the comfortability, right? I like my money's gonna come in. I'm gonna get my paycheck. Pass or
Mhm.
fail, I'm gonna get a paycheck. And so when this idea came, I was like, oh crap. Okay, this is not something I can just do on the side and leave it, right? Planning is something I do on the side. It doesn't have anything to do with my job. But it's like, wait, 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 this is viewed in a tool. And I'm not sure people know this or not, but Apple has a very strict policy against viewed in apps and working at Apple. You can't do it. Is there no big
Oh,
no? Yes. And it's because again, you're getting paid twice.
yeah,
Apple
yeah. No, that makes
successful, they're
sense.
gonna pay you, and then so just conflict of interest in that regard. So once I had this idea, I had 2 years to figure out if I wanted to pursue it, and that meant leaving my job.
Hmm.
So a year and a half into the drafting the ideation stage of like, okay, do I want to do this? What does it look like? How's this going to perform? Can I build it? Do I have the resources? I was able to really, really understand that if I didn't take the chance, I would regret it, right? And like I spoke to a lot of mentors, I spoke to my friends in great positions at different companies, and they're like, the worst case that comes out of this is if the business doesn't do as well as you want it, you have experience. And you put that on your resume and you go back to the workforce.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. Like you have now done what most people haven't done. You've built a company from start. You saw that it didn't work out the way you wanted it to, and that's okay. It's on your resume. You're now, so I was like, wait, that's a good way to see it. And so I did a lot of saving. I started to save a lot, make sure I had the resources where if I wanted to take a break for 2 years, 3 years, I'll be able to do so successfully.
Okay.
And so I left Apple. It's been 2 years and like maybe a week or two. I left on
Okay.
January, I think it was January 13th, 2023. And I haven't looked back since. It's been an amazing journey. I get to be again responsible for the pass or failure of I have a plan. I get to be responsible for 10 other people that work for I have a plan. I get to,
So you already have a whole team
oh yeah.
underneath
Oh
you.
yeah. Yeah, we're a company of 11. So
Wow.
it's like it's such a great feeling, I think. And even when the financial pressures might come, I remember why I'm doing this, and I remember that I did a lot of analysis before I made that decision, right? And so it was a well thought out decision of, okay, this is gonna be hard, but I'm gonna do it. And so I have like different notes. I don't have them there upstairs in my bedroom, but I am a avid crazy note taker, right? And I wrote in different, like I have so many scribbles where I'm like, okay, this is the plan and this is what we're gonna do. And so whenever I feel very, I start to feel that pressure of like, am I sure I want to do this? I go back and I read those notes and I remembered like, okay, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, this is what I wanted. It's still what I want. It's just a little bit difficult financially, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I love it. I love it so much. It's an amazing experience, and if knock on wood, I ever have to go back to 9 to 5, being a W-2 employee, I would always have that feeling of I tried, it didn't work out, and that's okay. Now I'm gonna go back to taking care of just being more financially responsible. Don't know what the right word to use, but just yeah, but all the same, I just love it. It's very great.
That's fantastic. Do you think having your accounting degree gave you a leg up?
Yes. So I'll say this. I remember when I finished my accounting degree, I was talking to my dad, and I was just like, I just feel like this is such a waste. And he's like, no, it's not. It's gonna come in handy. I know everything about taxes now. It's filing for my company, making sure we're tax compliant. I know everything about my spreadsheet and the finances as it relates to my company. I am the CFO because I again have that accounting and finance background. And so it's such a like when I have to talk to my friends that are in the same position of founding their companies, and they're like, how do you do this? Da, da, da. And I'm like, oh wait, that accounting degree
Uh-huh.
does come in handy, right? Where I'm able to reconcile the books. Everything is like, I have tools. I make a lot of automations. Like we have QuickBooks, we have this and we have that. And it's like we're able to see the numbers. And so it's like, oh, that's why the accounting degree was necessary, right? It gives me that edge up in the business where I now know how the finance part works. And we're not able to make, you know, I see a lot of companies that are going under when they start because of financial reasons, like overspending, or just not properly allocating your funds, or just, but we don't have that problem. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
because we're able to, everything is separate and there's checks and balances to everything. And so it's because, again, I created that structure of the company. So yeah, I see that it's coming very handy for me.
Yeah, it's like I didn't like the accountant side of things. I've had accounting classes in my MBA program
Uh,
and but Lordy, so thankful for it. Because I can look at financials and go, oh yeah, this company's doing great, or
Exactly.
something's a little
Exactly.
squirrely here.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that I think alone will be a massive game changer for you, because same thing, I've seen several business owners that have this brilliant idea but they don't know how to run a business
Mhm,
or how to manage cash flow to
mhm,
make sure that payroll is paid on time and in full. We're not stressing about that.
mhm.
Um, so that's fantastic for
It is.
you.
It
I'm
is.
so excited. Um, there was something else. Oh, and it's already gone.
Oh,
Oh goodness. What was the other question I had for you? Mm, it might be gone. Was there anything oh yeah. Your Lockheed, the VP, how did
mhm.
they respond to you being like very bold, especially in a very male dominated industry of defense? Being a
So,
young female going, yeah, no, I want to be your
yeah, I
three
want to be
pay
the
grades
boss.
above you.
Yeah. Um, bless his heart, David. I remember when I first started, he was so, um, I'll go back to when I was at UPS and how I even got into Lockheed. So I was very fortunate to have met a mentor, Mark. one of the most influential people in my journey so far, just very influential. And he was able to mentor me in a way that allowed me to really grow into who I am now. And he worked at Lockheed as well. And so when I got the
Okay.
job at Lockheed, I left UPS and I went to Lockheed, and then I started working for this team, enterprise integration. While I was there, I would say that team has been the way I run. I have a plan now is because of what I learned in that team, right? Just
Mhm.
really creating an environment for fostering our personalities, our growth, and all of those things. And so the way David led the team, it wasn't in a way where there was that hierarchy, right? Again, you're at Lockheed, you have, military, and everything is very, okay, I've been here for this long, I'm this person, I'm that person, very title based, but it wasn't that way for my group. And I had worked for another team before coming onto that one. And I remember um, people used to talk about that team, enterprise integration. They were like the Facebook of the company, of Lockheed, right? We had very different, our working spaces, very different. We didn't have cubes. We didn't have no
Okay.
cubes. We had standing, sitting desks, no walls. Just like you would imagine in, like, think of like an Apple store, right? You go in and everywhere is open space. That's what our office looked like. And we're the only ones in the company.
Mm-hmm.
That layout for our group. So I'm sitting here, there's someone right in front of me with their computers, we're backing each other this way. Kind of like a call center.
Yeah.
We had bean bags in our conference rooms. We had, smart TVs where we could watch
That
Netflix.
doesn't sound like Lockheed at
That's
all.
not Lockheed. No, and it's our walls were also a different color. We had like a white with like a mix of blue. So like
I was gonna ask if it was blue for creativity.
yes.
Yeah.
Whereas at the other places they had like a beige color with the cubes had a beige color as well. And in ours, our floor, our rugs were very different, like blue, gray. But other places they had like a laminate or like so it was a very, very different, nothing like, we've ever seen anywhere else. And I remember when I was on the other team, I worked for HR analytics, we would go and take field trips to go see what EI looked like. Because again, they noticed that it was working very well to foster that collaboration. So now, fast forward, when I start working for them, we already had that culture. There's no competition, right? We're all my manager is sitting here in the same pod space.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in an office, right? So I can see my manager. David has an office. He's the VP, right? But I'm looking at my manager right here. We're all in this little pod, right? And so there wasn't any competition that would, hold you back from growing in that team. And I remember when I had that conversation with David, when I also presented to these people, usually at companies such as these, the VP is the one who gets to present these ideas,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I've gone in, I've built a great tool on behalf of my department for, F-35. And it's so amazing. They want the VP, the SVP of the entire company to know about this tool. I got to present it, right? David didn't. He just sat there. He sat with me, but I got to present it. David is there were two people in between us, but none of
Mm-hmm.
them were on that in that presentation. I was.
That also takes a very special
Yes.
leader to
Yes.
allow that
Exactly. To
opportunity.
allow for your employees to sit and grow. And I was in this room with 18 other VPs. So it's like the SVP. She's right below the CEO of Lockheed at the time, Marilyn. So this lady, she's the SVP. She's sitting there, and she has 18 of her VPs. So she's a level 9 and she has 18 level 8s, and I'm the only level 3. The only other level 3 was her assistant.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh.
absolutely. So I'm sitting there and it's my turn to speak. And I just literally just start speaking. But not just that, it was crazy because that week something had happened 2 days before where um I'm sitting in a room where I would work with the tool I created is for sustainment. So the sustainment engineers, I used to sit with them to just really get to know them and know what they need from their tool. And so I remember their VP comes in, so their level 8 comes into the room and he's asking them rapid fire questions. And they're looking at me. I don't, I've sat with them maybe 3 months now, but I now know their job because I've been sitting here 3 times a week just to really understand the problem. And they're looking at me and I'm helping them answer. And I remember their level 8 going, "Who are you? I didn't hire you." He said that to me. He's like, "I didn't hire you. Who are you?" And I said, I introduced myself. I said, "I work for this team." And he goes, "Okay." He didn't say a word after that. The day I get to present to the SVP and everybody, he goes, so their level 8 of sustainment goes to David, my level 8, and then goes, "I met somebody the other day while I was asking questions. I don't know who she is, but because of her, I want to work with you guys more. Clearly, you guys hire people that know what they're doing."
Wow.
And David goes, "Is that her?" And then he goes, "Oh my God, you're in here. Yes, it's her." And so that's how they now realize that that happened, right? So when I start to present to the SVP, I'm very nervous. I'm shaking,
Yeah.
because it's like I'm in front of everyone that's way more experienced than me. And I remember the sustainment level 8, he goes, "I'm gonna stop you right there." And I stopped and he goes, "Anything on this screen, it doesn't matter. It's a great tool." He's talking to his boss. "It's a great tool, that." He's like, "However, what this young lady has done is create a relationship with my team, where my team engineers with over 15 years experience, military grade experience, are looking to her for answers. That speaks more to anything she could have created on the screen." And so at that point, it really put David in a position where he had to mentor me, because now they were trying to poach me.
Yeah.
So going to him and saying, "I don't really care about any of the things like these teams offer. I want all of y'all. I want all your jobs. Okay. I want higher." He's like, "Say less. I'm going to give that to you." And so it takes again, different level of leadership and seeing, just really being able to acknowledge that, okay, someone has XYZ amount of talent. They're really good at what they're doing. They do XYZ. I don't care that she sounds like she's my competition, but she's really not. If she grows, I grow, right?
Yeah.
And so why wouldn't I want to take the credit for helping her grow? So that's what he kind of demonstrated to me. And so it was really great. And so when I left Lockheed, I remember he wasn't very happy.
No, of course not.
He wasn't very happy. But I had to explain to him that Apple was my goal. When I first started to, as an accountant, trying to move to business analytics, I remember I used to print out, there are job recs online, and I used to write on it and plan, like, okay, I need XYZ skills. Okay, I need to get it. Because Apple is, I mean, in the tech, they're the giant.
Yeah.
So I used to plan, like, okay, I need to get this XYZ skills to be able to qualify for their job. And so 5 years later, when I did apply and I got a job, and I explained to him, like, this is a big dream of mine. Like, everything I've done has led me to this point. He was like, yeah,
Okay, fine.
fine. He's like, "Okay, we'll match their money." And I'm like, it's not about the financial. It's like, this is a goal. Like, I need to accomplish this. And so, yeah, so it's been a journey. I've been very fortunate to meet great people along the way that have, mentored me and helped me grow. And I don't take that for granted. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is not a
Long
typical
story, but
experience. No,
it,
but that's
it's not.
fantastic. And I do think that's how many people grow. You
Mhm.
pick up skills at the different corporations that
Yes.
you work at.
Mhm.
And you pick and choose. It's like, okay, I loved this aspect of how
Enjoy
this manager worked, this team functioned.
that.
Didn't like this, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna take everything else with me.
Yeah.
Um, but something you said, God, this is you need to go present at high schools. Or even like, I don't know, juniors for in college.
Mhm.
I want to have this job.
Yeah.
Look at the job description. What are the requirements? How do I get those
Mhm.
certifications? That's brilliant. So I'm going to challenge you. Have you written a business plan of what your business is going to look like in 10 years?
I wrote that before I left Apple. Before I
Okay,
even
good.
started the business. Yeah. Mhm.
Um, Because it's the
Yeah,
same thought
absolutely.
process.
So
Like,
I'll tell you this, right? I'm also very spiritual. Like I'm a Christian, and so I have, a religious background. However, I have my relationship with my faith. And one of the my favorite Bible verse is Habakkuk 2:2-3, where it says, "Write it plainly, and if it will delay, it will come to pass." And
mhm.
so I've taken that every point of my life and I just write. I journal. Like I write it, I remember it, and I may not go back and look at it. However, like subconsciously, we're working towards those goals, right? As I'm talking to you now, I'm looking at a whiteboard that I wrote 2023 when I first started. I wrote all the things that we needed. Yeah, 2023. I wrote on the board all the things I needed to do and blah, 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 blah. Today's the first time I've actually looked back at it and read it. And one of the things at the bottom, I wish I could pull it off the wall and show you. One of the things at the bottom I wrote there is like, how can we do force activation planners? And it says there, escrow wedding payments. I wrote that in 2023. And I haven't looked back at the board. I've been scratching things off. I haven't scratched anything off. I just ignored the board because now I use my books and I write. We just completed the Force Planners project yesterday. We literally just completed it yesterday. And so I'm like, great. And then the escrow payments we completed at October 2024. So I just write. I write stuff down and I just leave it alone.
Mhm.
I've seen that it helps me with holding myself accountable, but it also helps me with discerning and planning. And you'll see that whenever you write and you plan, some way, somehow, even though like the journey might not
Yeah, it might look completely different.
very different. You're gonna get there eventually. And so that's why whenever I talk about, okay, I wanted to visit XYZ countries, I have a page as well, all the countries I want to visit and all things I want to do. And I've been so fortunate where I'm like, okay, yes, I get to travel, I get to do these things, and it's so cool. But it's like I remember when, you know, I was just sitting at UPS, frustrated, like, why am I here? Why am I doing accounting? Why am I an accountant? This is so frustrating how I have to stay at the end of the month to reconcile accounts for long hours and I still have to do my master's and why am I doing all these things and it just hurts but here I am. Here I am. And so even I have a cool story. I always have so many stories. But the name of the business, I Have a Plan. When I was 19, I got a tattoo, my first tattoo. It's the word love in Hebrew. Okay. And I remember when I got that tattoo, oh my God, my parents were like, we don't do that. We don't mark our bodies and we don't do this. And it was a whole thing. And they were so disappointed, but I didn't care. I was like, I thought about it so much. I wanted to get this tattoo. And the word love meant so much to me at that time because it's like, if we just had a little bit of love, the world would be a better place, right? If we
Mhm.
loved one another more, if we treated each other the way we love ourselves, etc. Like we would just be better. And so that's why I wrote the word love, and I chose Hebrew because again, that's the language of Jesus Christ. So
Mhm.
I wrote it 2023, no, 2022 when I was
You
drafting up.
quit. Yeah.
No, I quit in 2023, but 2022,
Okay.
21 actually, 21, when I was thinking about the business and I needed to name the business. I said, okay, I tried out different names. It wasn't working. My best friend and I'm like, this is not working. Like, I need a name. I need to have the words plan and I need to have wedding or love or something. And so we start looking for, like, I'm like, the love plan is too cringy, right? That's not sitting well. I don't like that. And we start to search different languages. And I'm like, oh my God, love, Hebrew, ahava. That's how you pronounce love in Hebrew, ahava. Like
Oh,
ahava, like ahava. Yes, my tattoo.
yeah.
Yes. And so the business name is I Have a Plan. So the love plan, but it sounds like I have a plan, right? So it's like I have a plan, the love plan. So that's where the name came from. And I had completely forgotten that it's on my skin.
It's literally branded on you already.
It's on my ankle. Like I can see it right now. I forgot about it. Like completely. Who
Wow.
I want to
How
be.
full circle.
Yes, exactly. So it goes back again, like I write everything down and I just plan and I see that it just comes to pass. I'm like, oh my God, it's literally here. And now my
Mhm.
parents are like, you should tell that story, how you got the tattoo. And I'm like, what?
Uh-huh, okay.
Oh, okay, there we go. You hated it, right? You wanted me to take it off, but now you love it. They were like, yes, we did it, but like, look at how it's working now. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah. So see, it's I talk about it a lot. I try to tell people, I'm like, just write it down. Like it may not make sense, but when you're, and it's also another favorite quote of mine from Steve Jobs. It says, when you're, this is not how it says literally, but when you're living life, it may not make sense, but when you look back and you connect those dots, you will see that it makes more sense. You're where you're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, going forward, no. But when you look back, the dots are gonna connect. So just write it down and live, and it'll come to pass.
Yeah. Have you always been a journaling type
Oh,
person?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yes, yeah. I used to do it when I was like really young. I just like to write down and plan and just it. I find it to be very just like, what's the worst that can happen? You can just dream, right? No one's gonna feel like ding you for dreaming, right? And even my mentor, he gave me when I started at Lockheed, he gave me he calls it the red notebook. If you listen to this, Mark, I'm sharing some of your tips, but the red notebook basically just says if you have all the money in the world, unlimited resources, you can do anything you want to do. What would you do? What would you be? Who would you be? Just write it down. And I did that like what, 2017? And I just wrote it
Mm-hmm.
back. And I just write things. I want to be a CEO. I want to run a company. I want to be responsible for XYZ. I want to be able to travel the world. I just wrote those things down. And so at that time, I was a junior level at Lockheed. You know, I wasn't traveling anywhere. I wasn't going to be a CEO. I just said it. When I told David, same thing. I just said it because I had said if I had everything, I want to be a CEO. I didn't think it would take me to creating my own company and have
Mm-hmm.
to be a CEO here. And so just write it down. Yeah, do the red notebook. Just write out what you could be, and you see
The
that
red
the
notebook. I'm gonna
resources.
take that. Mine's
Yes, red notebook.
purple, but I'll take the red
Oh,
notebook.
yeah. So he calls it red notebook because it's literally, I don't know why. He said he had a red notebook when he was
Yeah.
20 and he did it. Um, oh, see, I should get you one of these. Since you live so close, I'll find a way to get you one of these.
There
So,
you go. Awesome.
but yeah, I just write it down. That's what's the worst that can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So, since we're at the beginning of the year and you are a writer, how do
Mhm.
you do goals for yourself?
So one thing I do as well is, and I always encourage everyone, the way I write things down, I'm not very date driven, right? So I try not to limit myself to, okay, I need to do this before the end of the year. It's not realistic. It puts too much pressure on us. The way I write down my goals is this. So today, Christine, in 2025, January 1st, or whatever it is, here are the things I would love to do. It doesn't say it has to do it, I have to do it by 25, by the end of the year, no goals such as those. Because again, it just puts a lot of pressure. It takes out the fun, right? It's like, I said I have to lose 10 pounds. And so every day, no, it'll be nice to lose 10 pounds whenever the 10 pounds are lost. That's okay, right? And so I just journal and I drop everything. I say, okay, yes, here's today the way I'm thinking, the things I want to do. And I just leave it alone. And so when the year ends, whatever, I go back in and I read it. I'm like, oh, wait, oh, that happened. Oh, that's cool. Like I just told you, I wrote it down on the board, right? In front
Uh-huh.
of me. I want to do this project. I want to build escrow accounts. Again, I wrote it on this whiteboard 2 years ago. I haven't looked at it. Like I wish I can pull it and show you. It's so badly written that I'll show you.
No.
Okay,
Too
this
funny.
is this is the board. Okay. And I just wrote these things down. You can even see here I said test by 6/30/2023.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't cleaned this board. I haven't done anything since I wrote these things down. And I just noticed that we accomplished some of the things on it. So that's kind of how I just operate is I'm not very fixated on the when. but the what.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I want to do. Doesn't matter when I get it done, it'll get done anyways. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I have my households do their goals at the beginning of the year
Mhm.
in quasi similar format. Now when it comes to what I do, there's some hard deadlines of, okay, well, you said this is
You're
what you
gonna do this.
want,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
this is what it's
Yeah.
going to take. Backwards
Mhm.
math doesn't lie. Um, I'm curious, do you, with your team, do you do something similar with like check-ins
Oh yes,
or like peer
absolutely.
reviews kind of thing? I mean, y'all are
Absolutely.
still in your baby
That
phase, so
small
it's
baby.
not like,
Yes, yes.
um, is your
So
leadership style like David's was for you?
yes. So we do, it's a company. So it's very different from my personal life, where it's like I can just not have dates. I need to complete stuff by, but in the company, we need to have things done at a certain date. So what we do though is we sit, the C-suite and I, we sit the beginning of the year, right? We plan out, okay, here are all the big goals that we have, as big as we want them. We just write everything down. We need 1,000 planners, 1,000 weddings, da da da, and we just write everything on, and then we go in and say, okay, let's make these smarter. Okay, we need to make them actually actionable, where we can actually complete them and measure them. And so we say, okay, for the next 12 months, here are the things that we need to do. So what we then do at that point is we break it out by team and say, for instance, we need to have 500 planners on the app by the end of the year. Then we know, okay, that's a partnership goal. And so what we do is we give that to the people on that team. So my partnership team, where there are three of them, they go in and they say, okay, we need 500. How are we going to achieve them? We have different quarters. And so what we do is we do an offsite every quarter where we talk through this quarter, Q1, we're going to do XYZ to accomplish and meet that 500 goal. And
Okay.
so every quarter they've kind of split it out just the way they want to do it. I'm not, I have a very different, I have very similar to David. I don't micromanage. I just, you know, your goals, we're adults. And also I have a way of making my team really feel like they have ownership of the business. It's not just mine, it's our baby, right? And so it's like, if I'm not changing the diaper of the baby, is no one else gonna change the diaper? And they always come out and they do change the diaper. And so it's one of those things where everyone has their ownership, and so it doesn't feel like it's so rigid. However, we know we need to accomplish these things. So yeah, that's what we do. Yearly goals, split it up into different quarters, and everyone just takes their chunk of it and get it done.
Yeah. No, I like the offsite quarterly like check-in.
Mhm.
That's really good for the different departments and
Yes.
such.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, the last question. And you've David and some of your other Lockheed folks and other
Mhm.
mentors throughout the years. What's been the best piece of advice that you've received?
Hmm. Oh, I just remembered one. So when I met Mark, my mentor, I met him I was at UPS, frustrated, trying to find a new job. I got a notice that Lockheed Martin was doing their first ever job fair, and to attend. At that time, the jobs they had on the job fair were just finance jobs. They didn't have anything more so tech or analytics, nothing like that. It was financial, analyst roles, things like that. But I was like, you know what? I'll just go. What's the worst that could happen? So I attended. I met Mark because he was interviewing for finance. He was a finance director at Lockheed. He was interviewing for finance, but he wasn't really interviewing. He was just there. So when they saw my resume, I'm not sure what it was on my resume, but he told them something very specific. He's looking for this. And so when they saw that thing, to today, I don't know what it is. When they saw it, they called him and he came and we started to chat. At that point, then he informed me, hey, you've just bypassed the screening. Usually those people up there, they screen you then before you meet someone like me. But I told them, this is what I'm looking for. If you see it on a resume, call me. And we started to talk and he goes, but I've run into a problem. I'm like, what? He's like, we have something called the blue sky at Lockheed where if you're good talent, however, we don't have a role for you, we put you in the blue sky. So when we do have something, we pull you. He's like, I don't want to put you in a blue sky. And he usually uses I remember he said this phrase, he's like, He drew it a box and he goes, think of this box. The box is what we're hiring for. However, you're outside the box. And I'm not gonna fit you in that box. We're gonna get a bigger box. We're gonna make the box and we're gonna find something for you. And so he said, just take any role. I'm gonna put you in the financial analyst. Here's a 4-year plan. I'm gonna get you on my team. You can't work on my team. You're not qualified enough. However, in 4 years, I'm coming to get you. And I was like, okay. Luckily for me, while I was about to get the offer, someone runs in. She was having lunch. Mark comes in. What are you interviewing for? She goes, oh, a business analyst for HR. And he goes, run. Your talent is waiting for you. And that's how I got into Lockheed, as not the financial, but an actual business analyst like I wanted. So that box thing has stuck with me, right? It's like sometimes in life we feel like we have to conform. We have to be smaller. We have to think like everyone does. If someone asks you what's your goal, I have to say I want to be a level 4 from a 3. I want to be a manager. I want to, very small thoughts. And I've realized, like, why? You set the size of your box. Make it as big as you want. Like, it's your dream, it's your goal. Don't conform because you think this is how everybody does it. Do what you want. Make a bigger box. And so I've used that a lot, right? Where it's like, okay, you have big dreams, and I'm also the child in my family with those big ambitious dreams. Quit my job.
Couldn't tell.
Everything just differently. And so it's like, and I'm very fortunate where luckily my parents never had to make me fit into small boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just get a bigger box. And so yeah, that's one of the things that has impacted me so far is whatever may not fit today, however, you can just create a new space for yourself to be able to thrive and grow. And you don't have to think so small. Just get a bigger box.
Think
So yeah,
bigger. Yeah.
think
Oh,
bigger.
I love that. Absolutely love that.
Good
God. Okay. I need you to meet
conversation,
so many
Lisa.
people. So many people. Well, it's been a fantastic time. Thank you so much.
Yes, this is such a good conversation.
Yes. And hope you guys all tune in for our next episode.
Yes, thank you guys. Bye, Lisa.